Hey, what is up, guys? So I'm going to do a really quick live, and I'm going to show you 5 ways to make money with surplus inventory in 2023. I use 2 or 3 of these methods because they take up most of my time. But I'm going to give you the 5 probably best ways that you can potentially make money with surplus inventory in 2023. So the first one is, which you've probably seen me discuss before, is by just sourcing surplus inventory, finding surplus inventory, and basically showing those goods to someone who wants to buy them. And then you simply connect them with the seller of those goods, and you agree a commission, what we call a finder's fee in this business. This is a very probably the most time effective way of making money in this business, because all you are doing is you are just basically finding those goods. You are working hard, searching for these deals, all right? You are finding those goods. And the reason it's so time effective is because you don't have to go out and find a buyer and negotiate prices with the buyer and the seller. You don't have to sell the goods. You don't have to buy those goods yourself. So you're not handling those goods. You're not paying for those goods yourself. You're just literally connecting people and taking a commission just for finding those goods. All right. So that's number one. Just sourcing inventory and getting paid a finder's fee. Number two is, and this is one that I very rarely do, but it is actually a good method, and I know people that do it, and I've got, people close to me who do this, and it is effective if you are prepared to tie up or invest some of your money into that inventory. So how this works is that you would go and source some surplus inventory from a company, and if it's a deal that you can get your hands on super cheap, so this only works, for me, it only works if you can really pinch it or steal it very cheap indeed. And so if you can find some surplus inventory that is really cheap, and you've done your research online and you can see what that product is selling for online, but you can buy it so cheap that if you actually was selling that product online yourself, you would be the cheapest anywhere online. Like, you would be the cheapest in the world anywhere online, all right? So if you can access some surplus inventory, maybe it's not a big quantity, but maybe a few pallets of some goods that you can absolutely steal so cheap, and you can just keep it in a storage, or even keep it in your at home in your garage or something. But you can just resell it online on Amazon or eBay or wherever. But you know that you are the cheapest out of anywhere else online. Then you know that product is going to sell. All right. Now, what I've done in the past when I have done this is I've got samples from the company. I've received samples, and I've literally listed them on eBay immediately just to test them and see how quick they'd sell at a specific price. I once did it with some electric toothbrushes. They were a brand name, Oral-B toothbrushes, and we got some samples, and I said, right, if this sells within half an hour, I'm going to buy that stock and we're going to sell it ourselves. And it did. So I bought that stock. There was a few thousand units. Put my money into that stock, and they were just selling fast on eBay, and we were making good profit margins. This method only works if you can really nick it pinch it so cheap, and you can sell it and make a really good profit margin, like 3, 4, 5, 6 times what you've paid for it, or even more. I've been doing it with a specific product that I bought several years ago, and I'm still selling it on eBay and Amazon. And I paid like pennies for it, and I'm selling it for like £10, £20 for each size. So I'm making a massive, massive profit margin. So that's fine. So if you can find something so cheap, but you can sell it for and make a really good profit per unit, and you know you are the cheapest anywhere online, then that is a good way of making money with surplus inventory. I don't do that really because, you know, my main business model is just buying and flipping inventory without owning any inventory. So I don't ever own anything. As I say, I've got one product that I've had for a few years that I'm still selling. It's a small product, so easy to store, and I make a massive profit margin. Like, I paid like under 50 pence for it, and I'm selling it for like £20 on eBay and Amazon. So it makes me like between £500 and £1,000 each month for doing very, very little. Another method, guys, method number 3, is like my main business model, which is sourcing inventory and then flipping it straight on to a buyer. So what I'm doing is I'm getting offered inventory, and then I'm showing that offer to my potential buyer, and then agreeing a deal with the buyer and with my seller. I'm the middleman in the deal, and I'm agreeing a deal with my buyer, with my seller, and then I'm just flipping those goods straight on. So I'm never seeing it or touching it or owning it. All right, I'm just getting offered it and I'm moving it straight on without even seeing it or touching it. All right, to me that's the best method, because you are making 100% of the profit, but you are not risking your own money. All right, because we use the buyer's money to pay for the goods, because of the payment terms that we agree with the buyer, and we are not holding those goods in a warehouse, so we're not paying any storage costs. So it's a great low cost way of flipping goods. All right, this is what I teach in my high ticket coaching program, Surplus Trader Secrets. Flipping goods from one place to another without touching, seeing it or owning it, or using my own money, and making 100% profit. All right. Number 4 is another way you can use this method, similar to making finder's fees, where you're sourcing inventory. All right. But this method is actually, there's kind of 2 ways it can work. You can actually source some surplus inventory yourself directly from the seller, and then you can say to the seller, look, here's a buyer that's interested in your goods. All right, I'm going to introduce you to the buyer. So this is kind of the other way around to where you approach a buyer and you say, look, I've got these goods, I'm going to introduce you to the seller. So this is like the other way around. It's almost like you're the salesman and you are selling some goods on behalf of a company. So you've got some goods that you've been offered from a company, and you're basically saying to that seller, I'll find you a buyer, and if I find you a buyer, you pay me a fee. We call it a sales agent's fee. So you're like selling those goods for the seller, and you're making a fee, a commission fee, for finding them a buyer. All right. Now, here, this is a little bonus one here for you. If you are in the finder's fees business, where you are finding goods, sometimes you can make a finder's fee from both sides. So normally, when you make finder's fees, you make the finder's fee, you get paid from the buyer who you have introduced to the goods that you have found. All right, it's the buyer that pays you the finder's fee. However, sometimes you can actually agree a fee from the seller as well. This is a great method if you want to make a finder's fee twice on one deal. Now, I do that sometimes. It doesn't always work because most of the time, well, all of the time, the goods that you are sourcing from a seller or supplier, when they are selling those goods, they're losing money. All right, they're losing money. So they probably don't want to be paying you a fee on goods that they are selling and making a loss on. All right, which is understandable. So sometimes it just doesn't work, but sometimes you can be a bit cheeky and say to the seller, look, if I find a buyer, will you give me a fee, a finder's fee? All right. And then obviously you're agreeing a fee from the buyer. So you can get a fee from the buyer for introducing them to those goods that you found, and you can get a fee from the seller for introducing them to the buyer that you found. Does that make sense? So you can actually make money twice on that same deal. It can happen. Sometimes it can happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Most of the time you just make money from the buyer because you're showing them a deal that you found, and then you're saying to them, look, you pay me a finder's fee, and I'll introduce you to the seller of the goods. I'll connect you both. You agree the deal, and then you pay me a finder's fee. All right, but occasionally you can get a fee from the seller as well for finding them a buyer. All right. And the fifth way, which I've done a few times actually, I've even done it on eBay as well, on their wholesale category. But basically, this is a way of making money from some goods, from some surplus inventory that you found, by putting those goods into an online auction. All right, so there's various online auction companies. There's like what is it, iBidder? Is it iBidder or BidSpotter? Even eBay, is an auction company because you can put it on as an auction. And if it's obviously bulk goods, you just list them in the wholesale category of eBay. So what I've done before is I've been offered goods, some surplus goods from a business, and I've been very transparent with them, and I've said to them, look, I will put that in an auction for you on your behalf. All right. This can work with, some inventory that this seller has been sat on for a long time and they can't find a buyer. I will say, look, I will put that in an auction, an online auction, and let's see if we can get some interest. I'll make my money from, or I'll make a commission on what I can get for it, or I will add my bit of profit onto the price, the reserve price that I'm going to list those goods at. So you can actually agree with the seller and say, look, I have a good chance of finding a buyer for those goods you've offered me. Would you mind if I list those goods in a auction online? All right, I'll put them into an auction for a week or something. We'll get some interest and we'll see if we can find a buyer. And you will you'll earn some money based on what you can get for those goods. You'll have an agreed price with the seller, or the seller might just say, look, I'll give you a minimum price that I want for those goods, and anything you make on top is yours, is your profit. All right. So auctions can work, and I've done it with eBay before, where I've literally been offered several pallets of some surplus goods from a business, and I've just literally listed that deal on eBay, on the wholesale category on eBay, and waited for people to bid on that stock. And I've sold a few of those deals through eBay as well, which is great. And then I just get the buyer to pick them up from my seller's location. So that's a great no-risk way of making money with surplus goods as well, just listing other businesses' goods in online auctions. This works especially if you just can't find a buyer, like, regular buyers, like a wholesaler or a retailer or whatever. If you're just struggling to find a buyer, sometimes it's worth listing that deal on a big online auction site as one lot. It might be 10,000 units of some stock, and you just list it in an online auction. See if you get any interest, and try it that way. But those are the 5 ways of making money online in 2023 with surplus inventory. So you can either just source the inventory and make a finder's fee by introducing that inventory to a buyer connection, and you connect the buyer and the seller. You make a finder's fee. Or you can do the whole thing yourself. Source the goods, buy it and flip it. Source the goods and flip them straight onto a buyer. Do the whole deal yourself. You're involved in the transaction. You're going to be paying the seller for those goods. You're going to be invoicing the buyer for those goods, all right? And you're going to be making 100% of the profit on that deal, all right? That's the best way of doing it. You can buy it, and if it's if it's not a big amount of money and you can buy it and it's super cheap, you might think, actually, I might just resell those online and make money. Just retail them myself. I don't do that often, very rare. But if I did come across a product that was just so cheap, and I knew I could make like 5, 6, 7, 8 times my investment, and just sell them on eBay, Amazon, or wherever, I would just put money into it and do it myself. Yeah, it's a little bit more time consuming, but the profit's good. You've obviously got to spend a bit of time packing and posting those goods yourself. And then obviously number 4, find a buyer for the goods that you've been offered, and try and get a fee from the seller side, all right? So with the finder's fee, you're getting a fee from the buyer side. With a fee from the seller's side, it's more like an agent's fee, because you're selling those goods for that seller. You're finding them a buyer, basically. So you get paid a commission agent's fee from the seller, all right? And then finally, list the goods on an auction website, and try and get a buyer bidding for those goods. They'll bid amounts for those goods. See if that works, all right? So you've got 5 options there. The main thing, obviously, is being able to find those goods, and that is the secret to this business, because none of these methods work without one thing, and that is you permanently finding these deals. And if you're not finding these deals, then you're not going to make money with any of these methods. So that is the main backbone of this business, is finding these surplus inventory deals. All right. If you want to learn how to get good at finding surplus from everyday businesses that all hang out online, all right, and there's many ways of finding surplus the right way, all right. There's many ways of doing it the wrong way as well. I teach how to do it the right way, which is direct from source, all right. And then once you find that inventory, you've got several options on how you can make money on that deal that you found. If you want to come and work alongside me and learn exactly how to find constant deals every day, get offered these deals into your email box. If you want to learn exactly how to do this, I'll drop a link in the comments, and I've got an entry-level course training program called Finders, Fees, Secrets, And basically the whole concept of this is getting good at finding these deals. You are basically going to become a professional finder. You will be finding surplus stock deals from lots and lots of different types of businesses. All right, if you want to get good at doing that, then you can choose a lot of these different methods on how you can make money from these deals that you find. So I will drop a link in the comments if you are interested in the Finders Fees coaching program, guys. All right. If you like thinking, actually, I just want to learn the whole thing. I want to learn how to find inventory. I want to know how to buy it and flip it, buy it and flip it, buy it and flip it, without using any of my own money and making 100% of the profit. If you want to learn that, then yes, I've got a high ticket coaching program that you can come into and you can learn the whole full business of sourcing, buying and selling, all right, and building a big network of buyers and sellers. So I'll drop a link in the comments also for that one. So hope you enjoyed that, guys. I'm going to be back again for another one on, which one am I going to do next? I'm going to do yeah, I think I'm going to do the next one I'm going to do is the 5 best products to buy and sell in 2023, or the 5 best products to make money from in 2023. All right, I'm going to go through 5 product categories that you can go and find products within those product categories, and you have a good chance of making money on that specific type of product in 2023. So I'm going to give you the 5 best products to go and find surplus deals of in 2023. All right, I'll be back again with that one. I will see you again very, very soon, guys.